One of the surprise entries at this year's Expo is this. It's the Maruti Suzuki Fronx. Now, if you think it looks sort of familiar, that's because it's based on the Baleno platform. The genes come through when you look at the car for the very first time, but the good thing is that Maruti has been able to create some visual differentiation that actually stands out. If you look at the face of the Fronx, you will notice that it looks a lot like the Grand Vitara that was launched a few months ago. It's got that same wing-like element up front, that's this chunky chrome bar that connects the headlights. The headlights themselves have a pretty interesting design detail. You can see the lighting sections are divided into three separate sections up top for the LED DRLs, and also for the main headlight cluster down below on the front bumper. And you can see the grille pattern is exactly the same as we've seen on the Grand Vitara. There's a silver finish at the bottom to give the effect of having a skid plate. Of course, this does not have a skid plate. It's a crossover. It's not supposed to go off-road. But I think Maruti has been able to really execute the face of this pretty well. It actually does look like a smaller Grand Vitara. Not sure how Grand Vitara owners will feel about that, but buyers of the Fronx will be pretty pleased. If you'll come with me to the side, I'll just tell you about the profile of the vehicle. In profile, you can see even more clearly that it is indeed a Baleno, but the wheel arches appear beefier. They have this dimpled plastic cladding on them to add this feeling of toughness. It rides on these dual-tone 16-inch alloy wheels, a little different from the Balenos in terms of design. Up top, you will see these chunky, prominent roof rails. These are actually not functioning roof rails, but they are rather emphasized, to add a little bit of height to the Fronx, which is practically in terms of dimensions the same as the standard Baleno. And at the back, once again, you will notice that the lighting elements are completely different from the Balenos. Once again, there is this three-section element in the tail lights, which are linked by this light bar that runs across the width of the vehicle, and you have this diffuser type element that is built into the rear bumper. On the whole, I believe the Fronx actually looks much more muscular than the Baleno, which is a bit of an achievement considering the fact that in terms of dimensions, it is nearly identical to the Baleno, but it appears to have more heft, more visual heft, and I'm sure buyers of crossovers will take a liking to that. Let's take a quick look at the inside. So once you open the door and you take a look inside, it becomes immediately apparent that this under the skin is definitely a Baleno. The dashboard design is almost exactly the same. It has the same infotainment system, and it also has a digi analog instrument cluster. But in terms of features, the Fronx is loaded, so it gets a head-up display, it gets wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, it gets 360-degree cameras as well. I'm just going to get into the back seat to see if space has become a bit of an issue. As you can see, the roof line has this gentle downward slope, so let's just quickly jump inside and see if that has affected headroom at all. So I'm inside the Fronx now in the rear seat, and while legroom seems to be more or less the same as in the Baleno, headroom seems to be slightly tighter. I'm 5'6", so it doesn't really bother me that much, but taller passengers may have a little bit of an issue, and I believe this is something that does not exist in the Baleno. Now let's quickly step out so I can tell you a little bit about the specifics of the Fronx. So the Fronx will be available with two engine options, a 1.2-liter naturally aspirated petrol engine that puts out 90 horsepower and 113 Newton meters of torque. And then you have the option of a 1-liter turbo petrol engine which puts out 100 horsepower and 148 Newton meters of torque. Transmission options will include a 5-speed manual for both engines, but for the automatic lovers, there will only be a 5-speed AMT on the naturally aspirated 1.2, and a 6-speed torque converter automatic will be available with the 1-liter turbo petrol. Now we expect the Fronx to be launched in the next couple of months, and prices for the Fronx are expected to be in the range of rupees 7.5 to 11.5 lakh rupees. So we know that it will sit slightly above the Baleno, but will be a little bit further from the Brezza. And bookings for this model are now open at Maruti Suzuki's Nexa dealerships. Let us know what you think of the Fronx. If you think Maruti has done a good job of building a crossover off of the Baleno platform. If there's something you don't like about the Fronx, make sure you mention it in the comments. Remember to follow the Auto Expo on TV9 hashtag, and also remember to follow News9 Live.